Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and in today's video let's discuss the poetic devices, the literary devices and all the figures of speech in all the poems. So the first poem is My Mother at 66 by Kamla Das, and the poetic device simile has been used when she mentions her face ashen like that of a corpse and as a late winter's moon, because in both of them she is making a comparison. Here the word like is being used and here as is being used. Personification is being used when she mentions trees as sprinting, because trees are inanimate objects and they cannot run, but sprinting is a human quality, and therefore this tree sprinting is personification. Metaphor: merry children spilling out of their homes. So metaphor is used to make comparison between things or two different things with similar traits or similar characteristics. So merry children spilling out of their homes is an example of metaphor here in this poem. There are many examples of imagery across the poem. Trees sprinting, merry children spilling out of their homes. They're both examples of imagery because we can actually imagine in our heads that how the scene looks. We can visualize. This is an example of visual imagery. Repetition: when she writes smile and smile and smile. So here smile here being is smile word is here being repeated. Next poem is Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. So the poet has used symbols and comparisons to explain how we can end conflicts, wars, and corrosive activities that are leading to the death of our civilization. He advocates keeping quiet and still for a while to introspect and understand ourselves and our relationship with our brothers and nature, to build a peaceful and harmonious world around. Enjambment is being used. Now we count to 12 and we all keep still. So enjambment basically means the continuation of a sentence without the usage of punctuation marks, or without using commas. So here he has continued the same thought without using any punctuation marks. Count to 12 symbolizes a measure of time. The clock has 12 markings on it, and the year has 12 months, and and the day has. Okay, here it's wrong. A day has 24 hours. I don't know why it's trying to change fast. So basically, here just count to 12 is just a symbolic of a measure of time. Basically, the clock has 12 markings on it and the year has 12 months in it. That's that. Now, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second. This is anaphora when the two lines are starting with the same word, let's and let's. Then arms here is a pun because arms of the human body and weapons are also called arms. Fisherman in the cold sea is transferred epithet showing how man is ruthlessly destroying nature and harming other species for his selfish need and greed. Not harm whales is synecdoche. Synecdoche is basically when you use a part of something but to represent it as a whole, meaning the whales here, not harm the whales, meaning only it's not only to state that just don't harm the whales. It also talks about do not harm yourself, do not harm the humankind, mankind. So synecdoche. Hurt hands is alliteration, and the sore hands of the salt gatherer would make him realize how he himself is harming his mindless corrosive activities. Green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, without rush, without engines. This is repetition because word is being repeated here, and without is being repeated here in this line. Put on clean clothes is a metaphor and also an alliteration. Alliteration because C sound, and metaphor because the poet says that quiet introspection will make us comprehend the destructive nature of wars. Man would shed his blood soiled clothes and don on clean clothes, that is, he would cleanse his soul, heart, and mind, purging it of all anger and hatred. Brothers is a symbol of mankind, and again, it's a metaphor. No truck with death is an example of euphemism. Euphemism is basically when you use an indirect word or expression to say something, or to convey something, to express yourself, instead of using a more direct word. Because you might be talking about something that is unpleasant, that is death. Here death is unpleasant, and the poet here wants no association. There is no truck with death. He wants no association with death. So this is an example of euphemism. Earth can teach us. Now earth can teach us is personification, because the earth itself is an inanimate object, and it cannot physically teach us like our teachers do. They do not have that quality. But just as earth, the creator, in its sleeping mode, appears to be dead on the surface, but is actually dormant and carefully preserving the seeds of life, human beings too need to keep still and quiet to rejuvenate and awaken the life forces within and be productive. Now, talking about the symbols here, brothers is a symbol of mankind, green wars is a symbol of environmental degradation caused by human activities, wars with gas is talking about chemical wars and pollution, wars with fire, nuclear wars, or wars with arms, bombs, everything, clean clothes, a change of perspective and cleansing of our heart, cleansing of our soul, cleansing of our bodies. Shade is protection. Count to 12 is a measure of time. Fishermen in the cold sea, hurt hands, man's insensitive and ruthless attitude towards nature. Next poem is A Thing of Beauty, written by John Keats. A metaphor is being used when he writes Bow Quiet, Sweet Dreams, Wreathing a Flowery Band, Lovely Tales, Endless Fountain of Immortal Drink. These are all examples of metaphor in the poem. Alliteration, when noble nature's N sound being repeated here, cooling, covert, C sound, band to bind, B sound. Imagery, flower bands, sun, moon, old and young trees, simple sheep. Simple sheep also an example of alliteration. Shady boon, daffodils in green world, clear rills, cooling covert, musk rose, endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heavens brink. All of these are imagery because we can visualize and imagine them like they're actually happening in our minds. Next poem is A Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. Transferred epithet when he writes polished traffic. So now traffic is not polished in the sense polished traffic is basically he's talking about the luxurious lives that the city dwellers live. So that polished is that meaning referring to lavish lives, and traffic means lavish people, lavish lives of the city dwellers, right? Next example we have here is of selfish cars, because again cars cannot be selfish. So that means the people who are actually driving the cars, the people who own the cars, that is again the city dwellers, they are selfish in nature. Trusting sorrow, again same example. Personification, a roadside stand that too pathetically pled. So a stand cannot plead, so this is personification. Metaphor, flowers of cities, childish longing. Oxymoron and alliteration, greedy good doers and beneficent beasts of prey. So oxymoron, first we'll talk about alliteration. Alliteration, greedy good and beneficent beasts of prey. So here G sound and B sound. And oxymoron because two words with opposite meanings have been used here in greedy good doers. uh, the ones who do good will not necessarily be greedy, right? They're selfless in nature. So greedy good doers, and the same way beneficent beasts of prey. So these are examples of oxymoron and alliteration in the poem. Personification, sadness that lurks, again. um, Next poem is Aunt Jennifer's Tiger by Adrienne Rich. Alliteration is being used when she writes fingers fluttering, prancing proud, chivalric certainty. Visual imagery, bright topaz denizens, world of green. Irony. It is ironical that Aunt Jennifer's creations, that is, the tigers, will continue to pace and prance freely and fearlessly in the world of green, while the aunt herself will remain terrified even after death, ringed by the ordeals she was controlled by in her married life. Metaphor. Ringed with ordeals, even death would not free her, as the wedding band, that is a symbol of oppression, would yet be on her finger. Then, metonymy, uncle's wedding band. Now, metonymy meaning it's the act of referring to something by the name of something else that is closely connected with it. Now, uncle's wedding band doesn't necessarily mean that it's the uncle's ring. It is to refer their marriage, the Aunt Jennifer's and the uncle's marriage, their wedding, and this wedding ring is a symbol of their marriage, right? So this is metonymy. To give you another example, we use the term White House when we refer to the president of the U.S. So that is closely associated. White House term is closely associated with the president of the U.S. So it is you could understand it that way. Next is transferred epithet when terrified hands. Pun here, ringed. Now, ring on her fingers and constraints of married life. Here, uh, pun is basically when you want, to emphasize on more meanings of the phrase. So, here, ringed is, of course, the ring on her fingers, the wedding ring, and the constraints of her married life, meaning the oppression and that she's pulled down by the weight of that wedding ring, the limitations that have been set on her, and that she's bound, she's ringed, so that married life constraints. Then symbolism. Tigers are a symbol of terror, oppression, and aunt's desire for freedom. Fingers fluttering, extensive oppression. Massive weight of uncle's wedding band, meaning burdensome, constrained married life. Hands ringed with ordeals, meaning extensive suppression and oppression. Now, so that was it for this video. We have discussed all the poetic devices and all the literary devices here for all our poems of CBSE class 12. So thank you for watching.